Hello, Drive Radio fans. Richard Rush here today with my dad, John Rush, behind the camera. And we're here in snowy Colorado, obviously. Had several snowstorms this past week. But we still wanted to get in a review of the 2016 Scion IA. This is the long version of the review. If you want the short version, my dad did that. It should be on the sidebar over there for you. Some of you are going to ask, well, what is the Scion IA? What is it? It's actually an all-new car for this year. But it's actually not based on any previous Scion car. It's actually based on the Mazda 2 profile. However, the Mazda 2 is not going to be coming to the US as of yet. It could in the future. And so what Scion and Mazda decided is, let's come together and put these two let's put Scion's badging on it, because Scion, the generation, or they're marketing to the younger generation, hence kind of why I am doing this review. What's different from the Mazda 2 to this Scion IA, or I guess to the Scion I should say, is the front grille, the tail lights, and the actual instrument cluster. The instrument cluster is more Scion based than it is Mazda based. However, once we get inside, for those of you that are familiar with the Mazda profile, or even some of our reviews that we've done, you'll see the Mazda infotainment system actually being utilized. So with that being said, let's take a quick walk around the car. So let's take a quick walk around. One thing I do want to specify is we've actually had two versions of this car. We've actually had the automatic transmission, which is this car right here, and the manual transmission, which is a 6-speed manual. And we'll kind of get into the differences during the drive portion. It felt a little bit like the manual had a little bit more of a get up and go. That's a lot of that's to do with your ability to control, obviously your RPMs and things like that. This does kind of have a manual mode in it where you can actually do the manual shifting, obviously, and the car does the shifting and the clutch for you. Those were the main differences for us, was the power. We were able to average in the manual about 40 miles per gallon. In the automatic version, which is this version, we've actually been able to average 40 miles, or actually, I should say 43 miles per gallon combined between my driving and my dad's driving, which really is very good. So with that being said, let's take a quick walk around this car. As I mentioned in the opening, you can see the front grille. It's different from the Mazda 2, for those of you that are familiar with it and used to it. As you get along the sides, you can see the headlights. I do like the profile of this car, especially from the front. It has a nice aggressive styling and an aggressive profile to it. It does have definitely a very sporty feel, which is what Scion and Mazda together have done, and especially Scion. Their goal is actually to have, again, sporty, fun, compact cars. As we go along the side, you can see what they've done. There's not a whole lot of bells and whistles on here. You have a blinker right here. There's not a whole lot added in. And as we get to the rear, the tail lights, again, this has been added on for the for the Scion edition. One thing I will point out: there's only one trim level of this car. There's not a whole lot of customization, and you're looking at it. What does that give you? Well, it gives you a 7-inch touchscreen display, which we'll get into the inside. It gives you several safety features. It actually adds, as a standard feature, low-speed automatic collision braking, front collision braking. So what that means is, if you're in a parking lot, you don't see someone or something coming, you're not paying attention for whatever reason, you're distracted, the car will actually brake for you. Which, for a car of this classification and of this price point, you're really going to be hard pressed to find that in any other vehicle in this same class. So really, again, really do like this car for what it is, and for the price point that it's at, and a lot of the standard features on it. So with that being said, we're going to actually take a quick drive, kind of walk you through some of the interior features that we can do while we're driving. We'll come back, show you the trunk portion, go through the interior, and then also show or give you our opinion of the 2016 Scion IA. All right, fans, we're here for the driving portion. Want to show you a few interior features real quick before we get driving. One thing to point out, which is the 7-inch touchscreen, actually, before we begin. This is a touchscreen when stop. So if I wanted to select my source, just push that, push it there, and it goes automatically to it. If I wanted to go there, go back, you're able to do that. Or you can maneuver everything from the control knob down here, which, for those of you familiar with Mazda, you'll notice this right up front. You're able to do so. So I can just spin it all around. I can move it back and forth. It allows you to do all of this. And the reason is when you start driving and you're in motion, actually when it's sensing we're not moving. When you are moving, however, that's when this touchscreen will actually be disabled for safety purposes, obviously. So before we get driving there, we can go over some of it in the interior. You'll notice the rear view camera right here, and actually we'll kind of back up and go from there, to be honest. It doesn't have any dynamic grid lines, we like to call it, so the grid lines do not move with the steering wheel. But again, for a car under $18,000, you're getting a standard rear view camera. Very, very nice feature. As we get going here, you do have a 106, I believe, horsepower engine underneath the hood. The one downside to this car, and depending on who you are, this may or may not be a downside. Anytime you need to pass a slow-moving vehicle or even merge in traffic, you're going to have to put the pedal to the metal, they say, floor it literally in order to get up to speed. And actually, I'm going to do it, and I know we're in a neighborhood right now, but you'll notice there's not a whole lot of power. So the car is now floored, and it takes a good second to get up to speed, which may or may not be a bad thing. We get a lot of questions about who are these cars for. Honestly, this might be a great, if you're a single individual, if you're looking to save money, and instead of maybe buying a high-priced fuel, supposed to be a fuel-efficient, even a hybrid battery-operated vehicle, this may be the car for you. You're going to actually be able to buy two of those for one of those, or two of these for one of those vehicles, and we'll get to that here in the opinion portion in just a second. As far as driving goes, a very sporty handling to it, very easy to maneuver, actually a fun car to drive, to be honest with you. Very easy to see out of, great sight lines. Overall, really is a very nice car. Is it the quietest car on the inside? No, not by any means. It's not meant to be, however. Keep in mind that $18,000 and under price point. So with that being said, let's head back. I'll actually show you the trunk, and we'll give you a little bit more in-depth view of the interior of the 2016 Scion IA. All right, fans, we're here for the front seat portion. Going to go through kind of what it looks like and some of the feels. Real quick, I will show you the door before we kind of move through the rest. You can see there's a little bit of a kind of a leather feel right there, that soft touch feel with the blue, nice blue stitching there. Very similar to the back seat. Couple differences. The vents are a little bit different from the Mazda to the Scion. Again, all the vents and the placement and how they look, that's a little bit different. I love the blue, the two-tone stitching that they've done in here. It really gives this car a nice sporty look and feel without adding too much to the cost, which again is how they're able to keep this car under $18,000. Kind of turning your attention to the center stack here. This is going to be different than the Mazda, just looks a little bit different, obviously functions the same. You do have two USB ports right here, as well as a power port. The gear selector, we mentioned this was the automatic. If this was not, the manual does not take a whole lot of room, just changes this configuration around a little bit. You do have a sport mode. For those of you familiar with Mazda, you'll just know this right off the bat. This is Mazda's infotainment system. Really easy to use, which we showed you in the driving portion of it. So again, this is what's different from the Scion to the Mazda, or I guess from the Scion, yeah, to the Mazda. As we get to the center stack, the center wheel is actually really similar to the Mazda configuration, but the gauge cluster is more Scion than it is Mazda, if that makes sense to those of you that are car aficionados. There's a speedometer, there's no tachometer. So you can see your speed, you can't see your RPMs with the physical dial. The RPMs are actually on the left side in a digital form. You don't have any automatic rain sensing wipers, automatic headlights, or even lights for that matter. But again, this car is under $18,000. You're getting quite a bit in it, including a rear view camera, which we showed you in the opening, or I guess I should say in the driving portion. So with that being said, I'll actually hop out and give you our opinion of the 2016 Scion IA. All right, fans, here's our opinion of the 2016 Scion IA. What do we think about this car? Great sporty handling, fun car to drive. The manual transmission is an absolute blast to operate and to use. If you vow for the automatic transmission, it has smooth shifts, smooth shift points. It doesn't stall. A downside with that, as far as the powertrain goes, a little bit laggy, I guess you could say, in that you really have to go pedal to the metal in order to do anything of substance, merging in traffic on the highway, passing a slower vehicle, whatever it might be. But at the same time, you're going to be able to average, again, between the manual and the automatic, for us, we were able to average about 40 miles per gallon, and we were actually kind of talking about this beforehand. Name a car that you can buy for under $18,000 and still get 40 miles per gallon. Some of the high-priced, and I'll just be honest, some of the Priuses and battery-charged vehicles of the world, you're able to buy two of these vehicles for one of those, even 2.5 in some instances, for one of those vehicles. And it really is a great buy in our opinion. It's a very sporty feel. The infotainment system is really easy to use, really easy to operate. It's got great cargo room, great trunk space. really is a very, very nice vehicle. So if you're kind of not wanting, you're wanting a fuel efficient vehicle, maybe you travel a good distance for work or to and from school, and you don't want to spend $40,000-$50,000 on a vehicle, don't want to pay for that, but you're still wanting to be eco-friendly and again get 40 miles to the gallon, you'll definitely be able to do that with the Scion IA. Again, this is the Mazda 2 for the US. Scion and Mazda kind of came together to perform this vehicle. If you want to learn more about that or about this specific vehicle, head to Scion's website and also check out our short review. If you really like it, head to your local Scion dealer and tell them that John and Richard Rush from Drive Radio sent you.